When you think of Ferrari, what's the first point that springs to mind? Maybe classic V12 engines, maybe the prancing horse logo, or is it simply the colour red? How did these traits become so synonymous with the world's best-known sports car brand? The legend began with Alfa Romeo factory racing driver Enzo Ferrari meeting the parents of Italy's most famous World War I fighter pilot, Francesco Baracca. Like many fighter pilots of the time, Baracca was formerly a cavalry officer, and the fuselage of his planes consequently bore a prancing horse logo in tribute. The logo, applied to Scuderia Ferrari's Alfa Romeos from 1929, predated the team manager's own road and race car designs that were later to bring him great fame and fortune. Throughout the 1930s, Scuderia Ferrari struggled for success in international Grand Prix racing, which was dominated at the time by German brands Mercedes-Benz and Auto Union. After falling out with Alfa Romeo's managing director in 1939, Ferrari formed his own company named Alto Avio Costruzioni and established a manufacturing facility at Modena in northern Italy. Within a year, the company had launched its first race car, the 815. Just 2 examples were built. The factory became a target of the Allied bombing effort during World War II, forcing Ferrari to move his manufacturing base to nearby Maranello. 2 years after the war ended, the company name was officially changed to Ferrari, and the factory rolled out its first Ferrari-badged car, the 125S, powered by a 1.5-litre V12 engine. Other road and race cars quickly followed. In a reversal of the win on Sunday, sell on Monday ethos, Enzo Ferrari sold road cars throughout the week to fund his racing activities on the weekend. Ferrari quickly found success in motorsport. His cars always presented in red, the Italian national motor racing colour. That patina of success rubbed off on the road cars, despite the Ferrari name being the Italian equivalent of the common English name Smith. Ferrari outsourced the styling of the cars to Italian design studio Pininfarina in 1951, and the renowned company soon became Ferrari's preferred styling house. During the 1950s and on into the 60s, the V12 engines powering Ferrari's road cars steadily increased in capacity, culminating in the 5-litre power plant of the 500 Superfast model of 1964. Throughout the 60s, Ferrari's road cars were exclusively powered by V12 engines, but in 1968 a small sports car was launched, powered by a mid-rear mounted 2-litre V6. This more affordable sports car was badged Dino, in honour of Enzo's son, who had died from muscular dystrophy 12 years earlier. The Ferrari name appeared nowhere on the new sports car's curvaceous body. Just a year later, the V6 grew in size to 2.4 litres and the car was renamed the Dino 246 GT. Not until the advent of the unlovely V8-engined 308 GT4 did Ferrari enthusiasts come to accept the classic beauty of the V6 models. In 1976, the Bertoni-designed V8 Dino was renamed the Ferrari 308 GT4. Production of this model ended in 1980, replaced by another 2+2, the Mondiale, marking a return to Pininfarina for that car's styling. The V8 engine also powered 2-seat sports cars, starting with the desirable 308 GTB. An updated version, the 328 GTB, followed a few years later. Both vehicles were available in the Targa-top GTS body style, and a 308 GTS was actor Tom Selleck's preferred mode of transport for the TV series Magnum P.I. In 1973, the company introduced the large 2-seat Berlinetta Boxer, powered by a horizontally opposed 12-cylinder engine. This model was replaced by the striking Testarossa in 1984, a car that introduced a distinctive new styling cue. In addition to the V8 engine sports cars, Ferrari continued to build front-engine V12 GT cars during the 1970s. Unfortunately, these cars, the 365 GT4, the 400 and 412, were dismissed by Ferrari enthusiasts on the grounds that the squared-off 2+2s owed too much to Fiat's ownership of Ferrari, and the styling lacked the voluptuous curves and subtle angles of earlier V12 GTs, such as the 365 GTB4, known more commonly as the Daytona. Fiat had acquired 50% of Ferrari in 1969. This bookended a tumultuous period for Ferrari, particularly on racing circuits around the world. When Henry Ford II made an offer to buy Ferrari and was rebuffed by Enzo, Ford set out to beat the Italian where it would hurt most, on the racetrack. Powered by a 7-litre V8, Ford's GT40 in 1966 comprehensively outclassed the Ferrari 330 P3. It was humiliating for the Italian marque. Ferrari remained a fixture in F1 racing as well as sports cars, but even in Formula One, it struggled against the efforts of Australian driver Jack Brabham, who won the 1966 World Championship in a car of his own design. Using the money invested by Fiat at the end of the 60s, Enzo could focus more broadly on his beloved racing, and Ferrari's F1 fortunes consequently improved in the 1970s, particularly after recruiting Austrian driver Niki Lauda. In 1975, Lauda was crowned world champion, and Ferrari took out the Constructors' Championship. Lauda narrowly failed to win again in 1976, largely due to his horrific crash at the Nürburgring. He returned in 1977 to win the championship, but left Ferrari the following year due to tensions within the team. By the end of 1979, Jody Scheckter had accrued enough points to win the Drivers' Championship. Not for another 21 years would a Ferrari driver win an F1 World Championship, when Michael Schumacher began his 5-year winning streak with Ferrari in 2000. Enzo died of natural causes in 1988. That same year, Fiat acquired a further 40% stake in the company, taking the total to 90%. Enzo's son Piero, born of his father's extramarital liaison with Lina Lardi, retains 10% of his father's company to this day. And since Enzo's death, the classic Ferraris from prior to 1988 have become highly prized. The future for Ferrari looks uncertain at this time, with turbocharged 4-cylinders and hybrid drivetrains mooted for upcoming models. But the mystique and the legacy of the Ferrari brand will live on.